Hey everyone, this is Sasha bringing you a video tutorial today from BP4U, and today we are going to talk all about brushes. So I have my basic brushes loaded here into Photoshop, and you can see that some of them are very circular looking, and some of them are kind of fuzzy looking. So let's go ahead and we can grab one of these brushes really quick, not that big, and we're going to draw a dot. Now this is called a hard brush, and by the way, this is the brush tool. It's B on your keyboard. If you don't already know the keyboard shortcut for the brush is B, or you can just click on this brush tool over here. And so over here I can select my brushes. It's important to understand the difference though between a hard and a soft brush. So this is a hard brush. That is a soft brush. Do you see how this brush kind of has like a blur halo edge to it? That's what makes it a soft brush. So the hard brush has very strong edges to it, whereas this one doesn't. This one you would use for blending. If I'm working on a layer mask and I am wanting to paint something on and I'm wanting it to blend really well, I'm going to use this brush. If I'm working in a very intricate area where I need a strong line, I'm going to use this brush. And so that is the difference between the hard and the soft. You can set that down here, and you can set that to any hardness or softness that you want. You don't have to take it from the presets. So at 50% strength, it would look like this. And so you still see that you still get that halo around the edges, but you also get a nice strong middle. These tools up here are more for design, but I will show you really quick how they work. So I'm just going to grab a smaller brush, and you can see that my size is 300 pixels. I can go all the way from 1 pixel to 2,500 pixels. Let's undo a couple of these brushes and get ourselves back to a blank document here. So let's go ahead and we'll grab a brush that's around this size, and we'll just kind of take note to exactly what these brushes do. So this, I went ahead and I added some spacing to my brush, and you can see now that it's kind of spacing my brush out, as opposed to if I didn't have any of that spacing, I would get more of a solid line. Then the next option here is scatter. So this option is just going to, it's literally going to do what it says. It's going to scatter my brush a little bit of everywhere. And then we have this kind of jitter button here. And this is sort of a three-dimensional kind of looking effect. And then we have this fade brush, which isn't going to do anything for us right now. You can see it just kind of, this is not for what we are currently working on. We also have our blending mode for brushes. If you haven't watched the blending mode video tutorial yet, I would go ahead and encourage you to watch that, because that will explain everything that you need to know about blending modes. And they work the same way for the brushes as they do over here. The blending modes are the same. So here we have brush opacity. And to show you brush opacity, I'm going to bring up a photo here. And I'm going to grab a brush here, and we are going to make it a hard brush at 100% opacity. Looks like that. That's a hard brush at 100% opacity. A hard brush at 70% opacity looks like that. Now this brush is becoming more transparent. Just like in layer masks, when we reduce the opacity of the layer mask and we make the layer mask look more transparent, as we reduce the opacity of a brush, we are making that brush look more transparent. So you can see here that the lower the opacity that we go, the more transparent our brush is. Now, you may be wondering why that could be helpful. If I'm editing a picture and I am trying to get a very specific look, and let's say I run an action on a picture, and I like the action and everything, but I sort of wish that maybe it was a little bit less on the skin than it was the background. I want to see it full strength on the background, but I don't want to see it on the skin as much. So we could use brush opacity to solve that problem, as opposed to trying to run the action twice. Let's go ahead and we're going to grab let's grab an action here. I'm looking for an action that will be kind of contrasty with a lot of saturation. Okay, so here we have this action, and I do think that this is too much on her skin. So what I could do is I could hit Control I on my keyboard, which inverts my layer mask, Command I if you're on a Mac, and I could go ahead and I could paint this back onto my background layer. Now here again is the difference between a hard and a soft brush. Now I'm using a hard brush right now. It's 100% hard. Do you see this line that has just formed? You can tell everywhere that I have used this brush, there is no blending at all to it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this all the way down. And now you can see the difference. You can see how it is blending in, and there's a much smoother transition between where I have and have not used the brush. And it is going a little bit slow right this second. So let's wait for it to catch up with me. Okay, so you can see over here on my layer mask that I missed a chunk down here and in my corner. But because my brush is soft, I can't really tell a whole lot. And I missed some kind of sliver in here somewhere, which I could see from my layer mask as well. I always pay a great deal of attention to my layer masks when I'm painting, because they can give me a lot of insight as to what's going on. Now I think I painted this on her hand a little bit where I didn't mean to, and on the side of her face, so I'm going to go ahead and grab a black brush and I'm going to paint this back off. And I'm actually going to come over here and then I'm going to lower my brush size, because I think my brush is a little bit too big for this bit of detail that I'm trying to work with. I want it bigger than that though. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint this back onto my background area. And I'm going to pull this fade off, because that was what was kind of, I think that's slowing my brush up. Okay, so I have this kind of mostly on most of my background layer here. There we go. So we can see here that we have painted it on, I missed a little spot right there, that we have painted it on her background, but we have not yet painted it on her. Now I want it to be on her, I just don't want it to be this strong, so I'm going to pull this way down. We can build up to the effect And if we decide that we want more, then we can always add some more. So I'm just going to start painting this on her. And so you can see here that we don't have a lot of the effect on her, but you can tell. I don't really want to put it a whole lot on her hand over here because it's a little bit blown. But I'll grab over here on the side of her face because we can use that to lighten up, and I kind of want some of it in her hair to make her hair pop just a little. And so here we have now our before and our after. And we would not have been able to achieve this without using the brush opacity. And of course, by being able to change our brush size as well, and whether we wanted a hard or a soft brush. And so being able to really go in and play with your brushes is so incredibly important when you're working on layer masks and when you're working on layers, because being able to understand what size brush you'll need, what opacity you need it at, and the hardness that you need that brush to be is very important. And if you wanted to get creative and change your blending mode, it would be really great to be able to understand that as well. And just knowing that you have that option is also important. So, thank you for watching this video tutorial. I hope that you learned something new. Happy editing!